Hi, and welcome to the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. TGIF, great to have you with us. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker. Do you really have Fridays? I mean, are Fridays meaningful for you, or do you have to work on weekends generally?
Oh, I mean, I work
weekends.
Yeah, I work
St. Louis City SC.
Yeah, I work almost all weekends because City runs February through October,
Which I think they should change, by the way.
And they play almost every weekend, and they probably will change that. Unfortunately, because then summers get a little bit more myopic. Yeah. Not bad, but myopic. That's good if the Cardinals are winning, but not so much if the Cardinals are doing what the Cardinals are doing right now.
Here's what I'm thinking.
But also, I do SLU as well. So weekends,
that's right,
weekends all year. To my girlfriend loves that I'm always doing something on Saturday nights.
I thought that it was a smart move on the part of golf to not compete with football anymore. So that's why they moved back. They moved the PGA Championship from August back to May, and they have their championship in August so that they don't have to compete with the NFL and with college football. All due respect to MLS, I think that's what they need to do. I think they need to move back so that their season ends in August.
Oh, okay.
Maybe start in November. Go November through August or something like that. You only take 2 months off, right? So August, September, October off. Start in November. Yeah, November through August. That's what I would do if I were MLS. Then build some dome stadiums. Don't compete with.
You can't do that because of the world market. The world market won't allow you to do that.
Well, when are they talking about changing the schedule to and from?
They're talking about changing the schedule to
so that it matches
August to May.
Oh, brilliant.
Instead of going February.
Let's just go right head to head with the National Football League.
That's my problem as well. And like my thing is like, I'm okay with there not being many things to do in St. Louis during the winter other than Blues games. I don't want to go outside in the winter anyway.
Me either.
I hate going out in the cold. Yeah. So like, I'm okay with there being only one thing to really do a lot of the winter. During the summer, I want to get out about. I want different. Sports wise, I want different options during the summer. I want Cardinals games and City games as an option during the summer, and because especially two Cardinals midweek, City's almost always on the weekend. They have about 5 or 6 midweek games per season, depending on how they're doing in the tournaments. So I like the way it is now because of how it fits with the St. Louis schedule. And to your point, I like that they don't try to compete directly on with the meat of football, and also the meat of basketball, which is the second most popular sport right now in America. And so it throws things off. Again, your plan I actually really love, but you can't do that at all because of the way that global soccer works.
Yeah, right.
But and their entire point is that, well, the way that we interact with global soccer now is not ideal, but it works, and you don't have to go up against football, which I think should be a pretty good combination. But no, they're going to do it. They're going to switch their schedule. And I think it's going to be dumb. And the big thing is that with a lot of leagues who have switched their schedules from that, the start in February versus start in August, other leagues have gone back and forth in other countries when they've done it. And Don Garber says that when we switch, that switch will be permanent. And I'm like, good. Deciding to go up against the NFL seems like the dumbest possible idea.
It kind of does. Okay, I'm turning this over to you guys because you guys clearly don't care about the Cardinals anymore, which is fine. So we're going to talk some Mizzou. Hanna Barton's going to join us at quarter after. Bernie's going to be with us at 10:35 or so. Aaron G starts off. Sam Horn, heartbreaking. Can't help but feel for that young man. Yeah, after the Tommy John, on the sidelines all last year, works hard to get back, and then first play. Man, that sucks for him. And the other part of it that sucks for him, not that there's a part that doesn't suck, but he could have gone to the Dodgers. He could have said, you know what, I'm not going to do football. I'm just going to go to the Dodgers. So that part of it, too, it delays the start of his professional baseball career, too. It does suck for him. Bubs donated blood today.
I think he's talking about Central Arkansas.
Oh, well, they did too. Okay.
Says the blood was donated.
Yeah, it was. Well, that's what they're there for. That's what the Central Arkansas Bears are there for, is that. By the way, Scottie Pippen played for Central Arkansas. What do you think of a basketball team named the Bears?
It does hit the eardrums a little wrong when you say it. It does. But like, I mean, You're just going to completely discount the entire Missouri State apparatus.
Well, there you go. Good point. And it's not like I have any trouble with the basketball Tigers either. So, I'm just wondering. I'm wondering what you think. The first half of the Mizzou game didn't look great. Well, the offensive line, and hopefully, as Coach will say, we'll clean that up. The offensive line against Central Arkansas didn't look great early. They did get better, I thought, and the nonverbal communication is a must. They need to improve that during the course of their practice week leading up to KU. But hell, you're up 26-0 at halftime. I mean, it's all relative, right? If you win that game 52-0, you're pretty happy about it. If you have 2 26-0 halves, so you're never going to be as good as you're going to be in your first game. And with the fact that college football doesn't play preseason games, that is Mizzou's preseason game. And that's the way you have to look at it, is there were some players that played last night that you're not going to see when they get to October and November. And there are things that they haven't been able to accomplish because in practice, you really don't play the way you do in a game.
That's fair. Asher McGuire, he says O-line absolutely sucked. Brio looks great. Coleman looks great. Hardy looks great. O-line sucked and defense looks sketchy.
Well, let me tell you something. And the O-line was not great. But you don't have a running back going 10 carries for 100 yards if your O-line sucks.
That's fair. They're bad pass blocking.
Yeah, they did not look good.
It was a struggle in pass blocking, but again, that's not surprising. Yeah. I tweeted about it yesterday in anger, and Dave Green responded to it. But like my example of what the Missouri Tigers are dealing with right now, it will always be the 2006 Giants, who moved David Deal out from left guard, who had been a long time left guard. They moved him out to left tackle. They had Kareem McKenzie. They had there was a Richie Stubert. I forget the name of the Chris Sneed, the guy who was the guy who married Coughlin's daughter.
Yep, got a job.
And exactly. And they had a really solid group of 5, but none of those guys were really even Pro Bowl level players relative to their position. Maybe 1 or 2 guys, but they weren't that dominant. But they played every single snap of that season together. And by the playoffs, that was an absolute core. And my point is, when you have Connor Tollefson, arguably your best offensive line returning, injured for a lot of fall camp, when you have 3 new bodies and one of them is kicking out to a new position, you just don't have that cohesiveness that you're going to have. So the offensive line simply isn't going to be very dominant, especially in pass blocking for these first 2 or 3 weeks. But if they lock things in and all 5 of these guys can play every snap these first 4 weeks, they should be able to lock things in by the time the conference schedule really hits.
Speaking of moving a guy from guard to tackle, let's see the look on Matthew's face when we say the words Harvey Dahl.
Oh my God. I forgot about Harvey Dahl.
Remember when he played left tackle?
I forgot about Harvey Dahl having to play left tackle. See, I'm still my one because I was so
Joe Tooney.
I was so dead brained by like that by the time that happened. The one that still gets me really that having to play left tackle in like 2006, Adam Goldberg.
Oh, Goldie.
Goldberg having to play left tackle
remember the right tackle play with Alden Smith?
No. Oh yeah. He got it. Yeah. That was not fair. That was one of those. That was like a guy who's just been grinding his ass off to play in the league versus a guy who was born to play football. Like Alden Smith was sculpted by the gods to play football. Goldberg was like, I'm grinding this and making a career out of this. And that's what happens when those two things come together. Alden Smith essentially pantses him on national television.
So this is funny because you get to Google the AI overview.
Oh, God.
The connection between former NFL players Alden Smith and Adam Goldberg is a specific play during a 2011 football game. In a decisive moment, rookie linebacker Alden Smith of the San Francisco 49ers dominated offensive tackle Adam Goldberg of the St. Louis Rams.
Here's how I knew Alden Smith was going to be an issue as an off the level player. So the NFL draft is at the end of April every year. And in 2011, just I think it was 5 days after the NFL draft in 2011, where Alden Smith was a top 10 pick, the United States of America pulled off a operation where they were able to kill Osama bin Laden.
Oh,
the Missouri campus proceeded to erupt into a frenzy, and a party broke out in the middle of Greektown. And at one point, Alden Smith, newly drafted by the San Francisco 49ers, and again, this is the meat of the NFL's Protect the Shield era. This is 2011. Goodell had been in power for 4 years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So this is still hardcore, protect the shield. Every single Bengals player seems to be an absolutely insane person. Pac-Man Jones, Chris Henry. And here's Aldon Smith standing on top of a Jeep in the middle of Greektown, popping off champagne bottles as essentially a riot forms around him. Wow. And I'm like, and I remember looking up at him and going, this probably isn't as I'm being hit with champagne and he steals my megaphone, which he never returned, by the way. I don't think this guy's career is going to go that well off the field. Turns out partying 5 days in a public area right after you get drafted top 10 in the NFL when they're really about optics, not a good look.
Not a great look. Okay, back to your chats, and we appreciate it. Baseball was over months ago. Thank you, High Definition. Oh, by the way, somebody said that we were going to say nice things about Miles Miklasz, who was brilliant yesterday. He goes 5 innings, allows 1 run on 4 hits, struck out 5 and walked 1. Miles Miklasz, I think, may have cemented a spot in the rotation for 2026 yesterday with that performance against the Buccos.
At home against bad teams, he'll lock in and give you a solid little game there.
Yeah. He gave him a solid little game.
You can't tell me not to get excited about Jordan Walker going 400 feet to center. You can't tell me not to get excited about that.
Yeah, 5th home run. Bach Hog, happy Labor Day weekend, folks. Okay, I thought of this last night.
What do you Frogger? You're gonna see. I knew there was gonna be at least one Cardinal fan who was successfully caught apoplectic by what you said.
Okay, so Bach Hog just wishes us a Labor Day weekend. Happy Labor Day weekend to y'all. Do you think that Jerry Jones appreciates Labor Day weekend?
Probably doesn't like it very much right now. Probably not.
Not much of a union activist.
No, not much of a union guy, is he?
Sometimes, though, if there's a demonstration, he does get curious and goes and watches what happens.
I wonder if that photo is licensed because I really want to put it up right now.
Classic. I don't think it is. I think that just came out of nowhere.
Before we're joined by Hanna Barton, I do want to play this because while there were some up and down parts of the game, Eli Drinkwitz did speak after the game, and there was some non-football stuff that he does kind of address here.
That made me realize that football is a great game, but it is just a game, and there's a lot more important things in life. And so, hearts out to what's going on, and y'all will learn about it pretty quick. So, devastated for that family. Proud of our football team. Thought they fought well tonight. Thought they competed really hard. Really pleased with the way our 3 phases came together. Very disappointed and sad with the injury to Sam and the injury to Blake Craig. And those 2 things are really disappointing, and we'll see tomorrow what the extent of those injuries are. So it kind of takes the damper a little bit off the win. So.
And what Drinkwitz was referring to there is that a lot of fans got the news in the post game that KOMU sporting director Ben Arnett had passed away earlier in the day. And I know on the post game, as the news hit, Chris Pelican and Howard Richards, both very close with Ben Arnett, working with them. The last 5-6 years, I know Chris knew him before when he was at school and things like that. A lot of people around the Mizzou family knew Ben when he was a student, obviously a very passionate journalism student from the Columbia area, living out, a lot of kids' dreams from that area, doing what he was doing, obviously taking over for the legendary Chris Gervino, and obviously just a tragedy hitting Columbia. So I know there's a lot of people out there who are Missouri fans who know Ben. I know there's a lot of people who are students in St. Louis who were taught by Ben or worked with Ben, and obviously our thoughts and prayers are out to them and, of course, the family in this tragic time.
Yeah, and we certainly because he didn't say anything, so it was a shock. But I've said this before because I've been through a bypass. When I was 49, I had a buddy in his 40s, just had a stent put in at a 95% arterial blockage. Guys and gals, if you feel pain in your chest and you think it's nothing, I'll work through it, don't just assume that you're going to be okay, because especially if you're young and you think you're invincible and you have a family, just get to a doctor and they take a stress test. And if it's nothing, you can prove that it's nothing. But if it's something, the technology with heart medicine now is so great, they'll get you back and going, and you'll be able to lead a normal life and get out there. But it's just devastating for the entire Mizzou, Columbia community, and obviously the Arnett family and the KOMU family. It's devastating. And it happens too much. Heart disease is really insidious in our country, and especially in our country, but in the world. And so just think about this. If you're having chest pains, think about Ben Arnett at the age of 43 dying of a heart attack, and take care of yourself. Get to a doctor.
Yeah, I had an issue where I was feeling a little bit of thing. I was like, is this muscular? What's going on here? And it was just like, hey, let's do the first thing. Let's see what the rhythms are. Are all your rhythms cool? And it was all good. And it was just like just knowing that you can go to the doctor, tell them that it's an issue, and they can say, okay, listen, step one, you're all good. Everything's running the way it should be running. Let's move on to the next thing and figure out where the muscle pain's coming from, because that's obviously gonna keep you worrying. It's gonna keep you thinking. So always make sure you're taking care of yourself.
And then way secondarily is Sam Horn, and it's sad, it's terrible that he suffered the knee injury, and we will learn more today. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory the way he came off the field, and then he's got the big brace on his leg during the game. That did not look good, and he had the same kind of thing when Trent Green left the Dome in 1999. That was the way it looked, and I just have trouble believing that it'll be anything other than a devastating ACL injury, devastating being season ending, and maybe even football career ending for Sam Horn.
Yeah, that's absolutely devastating. Luckily, he has the baseball career, and that's a good thing. But obviously, a really bummer for him. Would have been really nice to see him get a chance to maybe fight for that job in that second half.
Yep. And Bach Hogg survived a 100% blockage on the Widowmaker artery. Doctor said less than 5% of people survive that. So we're thrilled and thankful that you are with us. He says, I'm a diabetic, which was a contributing cause. Listen to your doctors. Absolutely. Thank you, Bach Hogg, and glad that you are with us every day. Is Hannah with us yet?
Yes, she is.
Our friend and our outstanding reporter for Southeast Sports Fans, Hanna Barton, joins us now, as she does occasionally on the Randy Karraker Show. There she is. Hi, Hannah. How you doing?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Everything's going well here. What'd you think of Mizzou last night against Central Arkansas? What'd you think?
I mean, I think that it was exactly what Mizzou fans probably wanted to see, especially from Beau Pribula. I mean, kind of made a statement right off the gate, not just with his legs, but with that first touchdown pass, kind of showing like, hey, listen, I'm here. I got the arm, I got the legs. And I think that was something that Mizzou fans probably are very happy to see early on. I mean, we knew it was kind of going to be a high-scoring game where they were going to run away with it. Again, really unfortunate that we didn't get to see Sam Horn and what he's been working on. So that was definitely tough, but got to look at a true freshman, which is always exciting. And just as we suspected, it was a great run game for the Tigers. And I think that it's a good start against, again, like we said, it's a Central Arkansas team, but you always want to open the season up with a huge win when you're taking on an opponent like that.
And let me just move right on to the SEC schedule, because it's a good one, especially right out of the gate. I mean, I'm not talking about Auburn, Baylor. I don't care about that.
I think this might be my favorite opener ever.
The Texas Ohio State.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, number one Texas versus the reigning champions Ohio State. So the number one team versus the reigning what could have been the number one team. It's going to be a fascinating game. 11 a.m. Can't ask for anything better, including all the extra theatrics with Ohio State and being a bunch of pansies.
I got to ask this first, though.
Go for it.
Can we just refer to him now, the Ohio State quarterback, as just saying?
Oh,
Can
we do this?
Can
we make it a thing? We
may have to, honestly, at this point.
You don't have to. We don't have to go along with Randy's nicknames. You can openly disagree with it.
His name is Justin Saying. I mean, if ever there was
just saying.
Yeah, just saying.
All right, fine. Just saying versus Arch Manning.
I think it's clever. I think he should trademark it. Honestly,
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. The quarterback battle. Obviously, the big thing is going to be Arch Manning and Texas. Can they take down the reigning champions? How do you see this one playing out on Saturday?
I think this is going to be a good one. I think it's going to be close. I think it's one of those where it's not necessarily maybe the most important game early on because it's a non-con game, but it's one of those where we get down, towards the end of the season, depending on how each team's season has played out, where this game could be referenced back. So I think it's really important for both teams. I think it's great to come out and make a statement. I think it's going to be kind of the ultimate test for Arch for this to be, his first game where he's going to be on the road in a very difficult environment to play in, 11 a.m. game. And, they're not really used to that in the SEC. We're used to big time night games. I mean, that's kind of what you would expect from a matchup like this if it was in Austin. But I think it's going to be great to get a look at what Arch Manning is really all about and what this Texas offense and defense, of course. We know the Texas defense is going to be good. I mean, that's kind of a given, and we know their offense is going to be good too, but how good and how much is Arch really going to play a factor? And that is what I'm excited to see.
And I agree with the idea that while this will be a great game, I think when you talk, Hannah, about referencing back to this, the only reference that it will provide is seeding in the playoffs, because I don't think it matters who loses this game. They're both going to wind up as playoff teams, because if you lose this game and win out, you're clearly going to be in the top 12, and you're probably going to be in the top 4. If you're Texas and you lose to Ohio State, no disaster. If you're Ohio State, you lose to Texas, no disaster. I love the fact that they're playing the game, and I applaud them for playing it, but I think they're both good enough so that at the end of the season, it really won't matter.
I think it's just one of those where it doesn't hurt to have that win in your back pocket. If for some reason things start to go downhill, you lose a game that you shouldn't, it's good to know, all right, at least I have this one on my resume. But I agree. I think these are two teams that are going to dominate their conference and that are going to find success. And it really comes down to where they are going to play and who they're going to play in the college football playoff.
Yeah. Good win, but not a bad loss, I think is the way we can look at it.
Yeah. And heck, we're talking about teams that faced off against each other, 8 months ago or so. Obviously, Ohio State lost their two-headed monster running backs in Travion Henderson and Quinton Judkins, but Texas also replaced Quinn Ewers, who threw a pick in that game that was very crucial, with Arch Manning. So considering we're looking at an Ohio State team that beat them by 2 touchdowns last year, but they've lost some talent, Texas has replaced their quarterback. Do you see Texas dethroning the reigning champions?
I think the only thing that is keeping me a little bit hesitant is that it's at Ohio State. And we just haven't gotten a chance to see Arch yet. But I think Ohio State, I hate this because I want to go SEC, but I think Ohio State edges out the win on this one.
Hannah, we'll talk about South Carolina, and we know that's the game that you're going to be focused on tomorrow. But is there another game that intrigues you this weekend?
There's some that intrigue me for different reasons. I mean, obviously LSU Clemson is probably that next one up there that I'm excited to see, both as a Clemson hater and an SEC fan. So definitely excited to see that one. I think it's really crucial to LSU because they have struggled with winning their season openers the past couple seasons. And I think a win over Clemson will be a really good way to start them off at a good foot. I'm excited to see Garrett Nussmeier. I'm excited to see if Cade Klubnik is, in this prime form that the media keeps kind of ranking him. I'm excited to see if he could really, be better than Lenora Sellers. I don't know about that, but we'll have to find out. And then honestly, I think two teams that really need to get a win this weekend is Mississippi State and Kentucky, because those are two teams where you take a look at their schedule and these need to be games that they win if, one, their coaches want to stay where they are, and to just, have even go 6-6. And so I think that, those are two games that honestly might be a little bit tougher than they should be. And then I'm excited to see Alabama, Florida State. You never know. I think Florida's going to run up the score on Long Island. I think Oklahoma's going to run up the score on Illinois State. Arkansas will run it up in Alabama A&M. Ole Miss should have no problem. Vanderbilt shouldn't have a problem. Texas A&M shouldn't have a problem. So, I'm excited, but definitely LSU Clemson is up there. But I mean, we all know my favorite game that I'm looking forward to this weekend. So
yes, so let's touch on that then, because your South Carolina Gamecocks are in action, 13th in the country, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And they play Vatech. What do you think?
I'm excited. I think anyone that follows college football is excited about the story of this one, specifically, from the coaching staff. For those that don't know, Shane Beamer, the head coach at South Carolina, grew up with his dad being Frank Beamer, the head coach at Virginia Tech. So definitely a really cool story there that everyone likes to kind of appreciate. But in what really matters, which is on the football field, I think it's going to be a good opponent for South Carolina to start off with. I'm really anxious to see how this team looks. I think they've got some really good news for their offense recently with Sewell Faison getting his waiver cleared by the NCAA. We'll see if he's the one that will be the starting running back for the Gamecocks. I have a feeling he will be. I don't know exactly how many carries he's going to get depending on how this game goes, but I do think we're going to see him out there with the starting offense. Of course, everybody is excited to see Lenora Sellers, as am I, and then of course to see how this defense has shaped up in the offseason as well.
One thing, by the way, checking out DraftKings, where of course the crown is yours. Checking out with STL Sports as your promo code. Texas -1.5, just barely getting the favorite side, although they're in Columbus, like you said. One game I'm looking at, it shouldn't be close, but Alabama is favored by 2 touchdowns facing off against Florida State. They were terrible last year, but Mike Norvell does have 2 10-win seasons, including a 13-1 season under his belt. Could this potentially lead to the alarm bells ringing again around Kalen DeBoer in Alabama? Could they find themselves in a little bit of trouble in Tallahassee?
I think so. I think it being at Tallahassee is a factor to consider. You never know what Mike Norvell is going to be able to produce. He's shown that he can do good things with this Florida State program. As an SEC fan and as a Gamecock fan that wants to see South Carolina get a good win over a high-ranked Alabama later in the season, I hope Alabama wins this one. However, I definitely think if the Seminoles are able to get the win at home, it's already going to be what is Kalen DeBoer doing at Alabama, depending on, obviously the score, how things go. I think Alabama fans, if it's not a blowout, a 2-touchdown win, I think they're going to go, oh boy, are we in for a long season?
Yeah, they like to react to things like that. I have to ask. I know, obviously, of course, Clemson and South Carolina, the natural rivalry. See, I'm with you on being a Clemson hater. My whole thing is that I hate Dabo Swinney, but I do at least think we can find some common ground on just not liking Clemson.
Yeah, I don't hate Dabo. I mean, I don't like the fact that he wears a Clemson shirt and that's the team that he coaches, but I think both coaches in the state of South Carolina represent the state well, in both Dabo and Beamer. But I mean, he can be as nice as he wants. He's still going to lose to the Gamecocks at the end of the season. So
there you go.
Love that. That's fantastic.
That's great. And, you guys are too young. You might not be, Matthew, but Hannah, you are. So it used to be Miami and Notre Dame had a great rivalry. It was called Catholics versus Convicts.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really, and they've got a standalone game. It's Sunday night, right? A standalone game on Sunday night, and it for all of the other games that are taking place this weekend. Yeah, Notre Dame and Miami, ABC Sunday at 6:30. That rivalry seems to have lost its luster. Here you have number 6 versus number 10, but we're talking about Ohio State and Michigan, or Ohio State and Texas. We're talking about some of the SEC battles. And it seems like the Notre Dame Miami's kind of been swept under the rug a little bit.
A little bit, which is a little bit surprising to me, just considering obviously the success Notre Dame had last season, as well as the way Miami has reloaded in the transfer portal. I think a lot of people are anxious to see if Carson Beck is going to be worth the money that Miami spent to bring him in. I agree. I mean, I have heard of the Catholics versus Convicts rivalry before, and who knows, maybe this will be the game to kind of bring it back, depending on how things play out.
Well, Hannah, we hope you have a great weekend, and since it's non-conference, good luck.
Yeah, beat up on Virginia Tech, that's fine.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, we'll be amicable while we can. So yeah.
And I know that you'll be on Monday night. You'll be watching Belichick, right, in his first game at North Carolina.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms that we don't need to open right now, but I could talk for quite a bit on what I think about Bill Belichick being at UNC.
I'm not a hater. I have no problem with Lenora Sellers winning the Heisman Trophy this year. He can throw for 300 yards, rush for 100, and score 3 touchdowns against everybody. And then there's that 1 week, though, where I am going to need him to lay like a 150-yard egg. Everything else is fine. You can win every other game, but there is one time where I will not be rooting for him. But other than that, I'm on board for a little champagne campaign for Lenore Sellers for the Heisman Trophy.
Well, I appreciate that. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
Hannah, have a great weekend. Thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
And you can check out Hannah and all the people at Southeast Sports Fans by going to Southeast Sports Fans right here on YouTube. It's a great new site covering the SEC, and they do amazing work. A lot of really smart people. Our buddy Brendan Schaefer heavily involved with that, and it's a lot of fun.
And we have so many people at Southeast Sports Fans. We have a lot of people here that are both doing it Southeast Sports Fans, but they're also doing dedicated Mizzou stuff every week right here on STL Sports Central. We have Illinois people coming in, the Illini guys. I mean, we got Howard Richards. Mike Claiborne had Kerry Davis on. We'll get him on to talk a little bit about the Illini at some point. We're going to be one of your hubs for college football this entire fall. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And before we get to Bernie, we want you to know about what's going on with our friends at DraftKings Pick 6. Download the app, DraftKings Pick 6, and use that promo code that you see right there, STL Sports, and you can get $25 in bonus picks with your first deposit of $5. And there's some good ones that are available to you tonight. For example, Robbie Ray and the Giants are hosting Baltimore. The Orioles have not been great. Robbie Ray has had a pretty darn good season. He's at 6.5 strikeouts. I'm going to go Robbie Ray to go over 6.5 strikeouts. So that's my first pick. And then I'm going to go look at offense. And am I going to go another 4 home runs for my guy, Kyle Schwarber? No, but insane. He had 4 home runs.
Stupid.
It was. Who's betting on that, right? To get 4. But can we get another home run tonight? Why not? Let's go with Kyle Schwarber to hit another home run tonight. And there you go. You've got 2. You can pick between 2 and 6. That DraftKings Pick 6. It's super easy. Download the app. Use the promo code STL Sports. And don't settle for smaller payouts. Switch to Pick 6 and get that bonus. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app. Use the promo code STL Sports. And you will get better payouts and bigger wins only with Pick 6 from DraftKings, where the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
I tell you what, Randy, we have some very confident Ohio State fans, and not yet. They might have to drive around. They might have to drive across the river to take advantage of it. But Ohio State is the underdog by 1.5. Roger Sarr says Ohio State by at least 2 touchdowns. Easiest pick of the year. You can buy a couple points, up those odds. Roger Sarr, same thing with Joe Cooper. He says Buckeyes win by 10. You could buy 3 or 4 points back the other way. Make yourself even more on DraftKings right now. You have that kind of confidence that the Buckeyes are winning at home over Texas. Bank it.
Yeah, I would say so.
Come on.
So, Roger Sarge, I'm a West Point Army fan, but I think Texas is going to get blown out. It'll be interesting. Hey, before Bernie's going to join us in a few minutes,
yes.
Right? We do need to talk about the Micah Parsons trade.
Yes.
It was rumored yesterday that the Packers were interested in trading for him. Actually, their general manager, Brian Gutekunst, had been asked about it the day before. And lo and behold, we get word yesterday afternoon that Parsons is on his way to Green Bay in exchange for a couple of first-round draft choices and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. And Jerry Jones tried to explain it away by saying, well, we needed the big defensive tackle to stop the run. Think about this. Think about if the Giants had traded Lawrence Taylor to the 49ers in the 80s. Think about if the Pittsburgh Steelers would trade TJ Watt to the Buffalo Bills. These are not smart trades. And the organizations that we see trade away premier pass rushers because they're in a dispute with them. We've seen the Raiders do it with Khalil Mack, and we've seen the Cowboys do it with Micah Parsons. Bad organizations are the ones that trade away premier talent. And that's what the Cowboys are right now, unfortunately for them. And the Packers are really good. The Cowboys are going to wind up with 2 picks between 28 and 32, 2 first-rounders in the next 2 years, and Kenny Clark, who's a nice player. And Bernie, maybe the biggest disagreement Bernie and I ever had was over Michael Brocker's being the 12th pick in the draft, because I think you can find a nose tackle in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. In fact, most good nose tackles do come out of the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. You don't try to get a nose tackle for Micah Parsons. It just doesn't work that way, at least if you plan on winning.
It's also not to get hung up on Michael Brockers, but I will. When you have 4 first-round picks on your offensive on your defensive line already, you don't need another one.
Right. Yeah.
Share some of the wealth a little bit. This is a team game, Jeff.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Micah Parsons is going to be a stud for the Packers, and I haven't seen the odds today, but I would have to imagine their odds have dropped considerably because they have him. They have maybe the premier pass rusher, not only in the league, but maybe of the era on their team. He is this era's Derek Thomas. He's not Lawrence Taylor. I'm not saying that he's as good as Lawrence Taylor, but era to era, he's the comp right now because he's the best pass rushing guy. Thomas was during his time. TJ Watt is right now. Parsons and Watt are right there. And obviously, TJ Watt is 32, and Micah Parsons is 26. You don't trade a player like that. You sign a player like that, and you don't trade a player like that because you're upset because he wants his agent to negotiate.
Yeah,
it's
ridiculous. The most basic want and need. So there's a couple little tendrils that I want to touch on. First of all, Jerry, you're an idiot. Like, you're a bad general manager. Yeah. You're hurting your team actively. This isn't new. It's just a lot of the times you really kind of had to dig and figure out exactly where he had screwed his club. And, there's the obvious one, Stephen Jones, putting his hand on the phone to stop him from drafting Johnny Manziel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But this is one of the most egregious and direct ways that he's sabotaged his franchise in the last 20 years that I can think of.
Yeah, it's heinous. But I love to see it because I'm not a Cowboy fan.
And we make fun of Brooke a lot for football teams making these kind of trades, because this is the AJ Brown trade all over again. Yeah. Because there's a Family Guy joke out there where he goes to the timeshare. He's like, should I get the boat or the mystery box? Why would I get a boat? I can get a mystery box. It can be in the mystery box. A boat could be in the mystery box. And it's the joke where, why, of course I'm going to trade Micah Parsons for 2 first-round picks. I could draft Micah Parsons with one of those first-round picks. It's the logic of, you already have the superstar. You already hit on the pick. Why would you re-roll the dice? You rolled double sixes. You want now 2 more rolls of the dice to see if you can get double sixes a second time?
Yeah.
It's dumb.
So I wish that I could be in a press conference there. Because if you didn't see the press conference, it was Jerry Jones, and then sitting to his right is Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones is the CEO and director of player personnel for the Cowboys. And I would have loved to have asked this question. I would have liked to have asked Stephen Jones, as the CEO, how do you feel about your general manager disenfranchising and disrespecting one of the big agents in all of the National Football League? And make Stephen Jones respond to how his general manager is performing.
Ooh, that'd be good. Oh man, that's really good. I didn't even think about that. What do you think about your GM? Yeah. Oof, harming your relationship with one of the most important agents in the sports.
Yeah.
Or just what do you think about your GM potentially getting you guys sued by the NFLPA for labor violations?
Yeah.
I feel like that's also not a very good thing.
Yeah. Roger Sarge, Jerry said horrible against the run with Micah. He's correct. Great trade, in my opinion.
Are you a Packers fan?
Yeah.
Something along those lines?
Yeah. So yeah, that's it's not a good trade for the Cowboys. It's Micah Parsons was not the reason that they were not good against the run. They got 11 guys on defense. They didn't draft a defensive tackle, which we just said is easy to do. They're easy to find. The Giants were fine against the run with Lawrence Taylor. The Steelers are fine against the run with TJ Watt. The Chiefs were fine against the run with Derek Thomas. You look at the premier pass rushers ever. The Steelers with Kevin Green were fine against the run. Also, you don't expect a pass rusher, an edge rusher, to be a guy that covers the middle when teams are dominating the middle of your defensive line.
And more than that, since when is stopping the run a one-man thing? Like, unless you're Casey Hampton or Vince Wilfork, it's called gap integrity, ladies and gentlemen. And it doesn't matter if Micah Parsons sets the edge well. If everyone else leaves the A and B gaps wide open, running back's going to hit the cutback lane. Ain't going to matter. So it's a ridiculous thing from Jerry.
All you need to know is this. There are 2 players in the history of the National Football League that have had 12 or more sacks in each of their first 4 seasons. One of them is Reggie White, who you could argue is the greatest defensive lineman in the history of the league. The other one is Micah Parsons. There's 2 of them that have had 12 or more sacks in each of their first 4 seasons. Reggie White and Micah Parsons. You don't trade a Micah Parsons if you are a smart organization. And I'm not going to say Jerry doesn't know anything about football. I'm just saying that from a business standpoint, it seems like he let the personal get in the way of the professional.
Absolutely. And now Bernie Miklasz is with us. And for the second week in a row, when we're bringing on Bernie, we just can't help but talk about the Dallas Cowboys as Jerry Jones is back in the news again. Bernie, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I was listening to the conversation. I loved it. As you might imagine, I have an opinion. You know where this trade was basically conceived? We saw it just by watching the Cowboys documentary. Mm-hmm. Jerry Jones has never gotten over, and he never will get. Excuse me. I'll learn how to speak. Jerry Jones has never gotten over. He never will get over the fact that Jimmy Johnson got all of the credit for what transpired. It burns him to this day. He can't sleep at night because of it. And if you watch the documentary, and if you didn't, that's okay. I'll tell you. So much conversation was about that Herschel Walker trade. Mm-hmm. And it was a brilliant trade made by Jimmy Johnson, where they got all of those draft picks. They sent them to the Vikings, and Herschel was overrated in my opinion, and I covered him with all due respect. I think he was overrated. It drives Jerry crazy that Jimmy Johnson got all the credit about being a genius for realizing that this was the way to go if you want to get better. And so Jerry's thinking that this is his Herschel Walker trade. He's trading, except that this guy's much better at what he does than Herschel Walker ever was. Mm-hmm. This guy is a absolute, unless there's some disaster that shortcuts his career by a substantial amount. And I don't imagine that happening. And the Hall of Fame is wisely now putting in players that had great players who had their careers ended by getting knees torn apart or whatever. He will be in the Hall of Fame. This is a Pro Football Hall of Fame pass rusher. He is a game changer. He is a difference maker. And Jerry Jones, when you look around the NFL and you see average, slightly above average offensive tackles being traded for a first-round pick, this was a cheap price for the Packers to pay, because this is a 26-year-old player. He's not 29. He's not 32. He's 26 years old. Mm-hmm. And he's arguably the most disruptive pass rusher in the NFL. And the Packers are going to have him for his prime years. But Jerry Jones is still trying to settle a score with Jimmy Johnson. And he is a stark, raving mad, Looney Tunes, just go sit in a chair. Hey, Jones family, put grandpa in the chair and give him some bourbon. and just, and somebody take over the Cowboys. Grandpa is done. Okay. He's done. And I know Grandpa.
I'm enjoying it, Bernie. I'm loving every minute of it. Okay. I got a couple of things here.
I know it's so funny. It's, because it's like, man, I was there at the beginning of this Cowboys dynasty. It's just stunning to me that they haven't made a conference championship game in 30 years.
Okay.
It's
by
unreal.
The way, Jerry's first answer last night to the first question was 14 minutes. He just went on and on and on.
Well, that's just like what I did 14 minutes. So I guess I have something in common.
I got a couple of things for you here. Number one, that trade that Jimmy Johnson made was made to try to rebuild a franchise. I think this team is much closer to being good than bad. Not that they're I think you could add pieces and the Cowboys would be closer to a Super Bowl. That team needed a lot. The team that you covered, that when Johnson made the trade, all of those players that they got from that, they needed desperately. I don't think the needs are as prevalent here with this group.
No, you're right. there's a lot of talent. I don't know whether to give Jerry credit or not, but I would acknowledge this because I think it's fair to acknowledge this. He did bring in over the years, and he still has them. And he does find good scouts, and he puts them to work. And when Jerry is smart enough or coherent enough to actually take their advice, they have drafted some really good players. They've drafted a lot of really good players, but that's just one part of the whole thing. Then you have to make smart decisions with your spending. Oh, it would really help if you actually have a head coach, things like that. And you're not so obsessed with power. Your priority should be something other than making sure you have your own post-game news conference every week, and then doing 2 or 3 radio shows every week. Jerry wants to be the star of his own franchise.
Yeah, right. And Bernie, our good friend Charlie Army had just the most logical approach. And people might not remember this. In addition to building the greatest show on turf, he was really the driving personnel force behind that group. He also pretty much built Belichick's first iteration of the Patriots. And so he was a great personnel guy. But one of the things that he always would say is, get yourself a Pro Bowl quarterback, Pro Bowl running back, Pro Bowl receiver, Pro Bowl left tackle, Pro Bowl pass rusher, Pro Bowl corner. Start there, get those 6, and you're on your way. Then you kind of fill in around those. You get your other corner, you get your other tackle, but get those guys. And you look at Dallas, if Dak can play, they need the left tackle now, and they need the running back, but they've got a lot of elements on that team. That's why I say that I think they're closer to being good than bad.
And one of if you're a Cowboys fan, one of the things I think you should regret as much as anything is that for years and years, and recently, the Cowboys had a great offensive line, and an offensive line can be your engine that leads you to glory. Look at the greatest show on turf. Look at Pace on the left side. They go out. Charlie Army goes out and gets Adam Timmerman. They find Tom Newton, and it's like, who? The starting center on that team. I mean, that was a great offensive line. And, without that offensive line, Kurt Warner doesn't get to do all the things that he did. Without Orlando Pace protecting his blind side and Xing out his guy week after week after week, where they would even overload that side thinking, well, there's no way that Pace in effect can block 2 or 3 of us, but he would, because he was so quick and he had such great lateral movement. He would take out one guy and then slide and then take out another guy. And then Kirk could throw the ball. I mean, the offensive line is huge. So the Cowboys never took advantage of having a beast-like offensive line.
No.
Jerry never, the general manager, who is Jerry Jones, can find some talent and all that, and his scouts can. He doesn't know how to finish off a roster. He can't.
No, and they kind of wasted a Hall of Fame career for a guy that the Rams tried to trade for in Martin, and then Tyron Smith. Yeah, Martin is a Hall of Famer. Smith is a borderline Hall of Famer, and you start there with the left tackle and the right guard, and you're right, and they had other good players up front, and they basically wasted the careers of a lot of guys.
Yeah, and I always think that the 1999 Rams actually set a good example of how a team can really improve and improve dramatically. And sometimes you need to be a little lucky. I think the Rams deep down inside will tell you they thought Kurt Warner would be a good quarterback. He'd do a nice job. They never expected this. But then again, they also gave Kurt, and he would be the first to remind us, they also gave Kurt an outstanding number of pieces to make that whole offense go. So it was a beautiful thing to watch. And
you know what's interesting, though? Go ahead, Barry. Sorry.
No, that's good. I'm good.
I was going to say that, Hanny used to be able to mold offensive linemen that came from college. Now, with literally every college program, except for maybe Michigan, running a spread offense, it's really difficult and I don't even know if there are any great offensive line coaches left in the NFL, but it's really difficult to mold offensive linemen the way that people like Jim Hanifin did when he was alive and kicking in the NFL.
He's the all-time great in my, at least during my lifetime. There's never been a better offensive line coach than Jim Hanifin because he did it. I saw what he did in Washington, saw what he did in other places. Everywhere he went, the offensive line was outstanding. He made guys better.
Conrad Dobler was a defensive lineman. The Cardinals cut him, and he said, "Hey, let's bring him back. I want to try him on the offensive line." And he turned him into a Pro Bowl guy.
He was something else.
Is that an Ozzie Smith hat?
Yes, it is.
That is a fantastic. It is Ozzie Smith hat.
Well, you look, you can see,
you see
the logo.
Okay.
You see, there's the Hall of Fame. See the Hall of Fame patch?
Oh,
very nice. Yeah.
I had to get this. Yeah, I had to jump on it. It's great.
Is he the best defensive player in baseball history?
I think he is. And I don't even think I have to give you my usual overabundant list of stats either. No, I think he is. I mean, all you had to do was watch him, but the stats bear it out too. Like the number of assists and the number, and the number of balls that he got to. And I'm talking about on a rate basis, not just the entire career. I mean, the entire career, it's obvious, but just season to season and season. He was getting to more baseballs than any infielder, any shortstop, not only of the era, but ever. His range, there's no one has ever had range playing shortstop like Ozzie Smith. No one's even close to having that kind of range ever, before or after. He was a one-of-a-kind defensive player. I mean, he really, really was.
In 2025, right now, when you want to rate a defensive player, because I think that's the way defensive players have been rated, that's been the best change in terms of being able to regard a player. Mm-hmm. What do you look at, though, Bernie? What's your Bible for defensive ratings?
Well, listen, despite what some people think, I am not in a cult, so I don't believe like every metric is like the beginning, the middle of the end, the truth, the light, the salvation. Unfortunately, some of my other stat nerd friends, they are basically, as I said in a video I just recorded for STL Sports Central, they're basically the equivalent of crackheads because they just can't. They just can't get enough of the metrics to the point where it just controls their minds, and it makes them unstable as far as being able to realize that there are other things, other ways of measuring players. And I'm getting off the track a little bit because that's what I do, but I'll tell you one thing and Randy, you will love this, my friend. One thing I'm really tired of hearing about when it comes to StatCast stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't care about bat speed, okay? I don't care about bat speed because all you got to do is look at the top of the list and see Jordan Walker, top 1% of bat speed in the majors. Well, how's that working out?
Right.
Like if all you needed is bat speed, they wouldn't be able to fit enough guys into the Hall of Fame. I looked way down the list to some of the people that with below average bat speed, and they're some of the best hitters in baseball today. There's more that goes into the art of hitting than just measuring how fast a guy swings a bat. And this is what I'm talking about. But yet you've got the StatCast crackheads out there that they'll just look at that and obsess over it. And they think that's the key to everything. And it's not. It's just one piece of many different components. Anyway, to your point, and I'm sorry, but don't you feel good? I got that off my chest, right?
And let me just make one addition to that because your point is really well made. But having, for example, Nolan Gorman's bat speed is actually down from last year,
right?
But he's become a more selective hitter because he's not trying to swing as hard.
100%. This is why I love Randy Karraker. Another reason, 100%, because he was trying to kill every pitch, and Brent Brown got him to slow down. Mm-hmm. And I talked to Ollie Marmos about that. He said we had to slow him down because I appreciate that he wants to go up there and attack. Because I asked Ollie, I said his habits at the plate are much better, but why? Where's the power? And he said it will come because we had to slow him down. And once he understands what he has to do to crank out a good at bat, he'll speed up his swing again. And that's exactly what's happened. And Nolan Gorman is really doing well. But anyway, the thing I look at with defense right now, I still think the most important thing, and this is where StatCast is good. really good. I think range has got to be the most important thing because it's all about getting the baseballs. And I do realize, I think the positioning that your coaching staff and your analytics people come up with is really, really important too. The way you position fielders is really important. The smart teams are good at that. The Cardinals have become good at that. But you look at Mason Wynn, his range is extraordinary. It's not Ozzie Smith range because no one ever had that kind of range playing shortstop. But you have a guy like Mason Wynn who can make every kind of play. He can get to just about any kind of ball within reason, and he's got a gun of an arm that can throw hitters out, and he's a really smart player. So I look at that. Listen, I don't look at fielding percentage unless it's something so bad you can't help but look at how bad it is. Mm-hmm. But just you got to get to the ball to make plays, and when you make plays, you get a lot of outs. And I think it starts with range. You want to see good hands. You want to see a good throwing arm. You want to see a guy at his best be able to come in on a ball, also be equally strong whether he goes to his left or his right. And I think Mason Wynn checks those boxes. And I'm just using him as an example of what I look at.
Okay. So are you looking at range factor? Is it defensive run saved?
No, outs above average. That is that is a range metric.
Okay, got it.
Right.
Talking all the good things about the defense, we do have to dive into your recent piece for STL Sports Central because the Cardinals offense, we talked about it before. The stat that I had going into last night's game was in the previous 9 games, Bernie, they had 20 more strikeouts than they had hits. You obviously broke it down in a very wide range, looking at the individual struggles of a lot of players, the overall struggles of the offense. And I love the way you put this. The Cardinals have guys, but the Cardinals need dudes. Can you just dive into some of the numbers you had for the offensive malaise of the Redbirds?
When Boog Sciambi wasn't doing the Cubs games, although I still love him doing Cubs games, but when he was working primarily for ESPN, he's a really smart guy, and I said to him, what's going on with the Cardinals? Like, why aren't they better offensively? And he said on my show, he said, it's an easy answer, not an easy solution, but it's an easy answer. And I said, well, what? He said, they need more good dudes. And I said, well, what do you, I had not yet caught on to that expression, right? And I said, well, explain. He said, well, teams that are okay, they're average, maybe a little above average, a little below average, but they're in that middle with a bunch of other teams. They have guys. I said, well, what's a guy? He said, a guy is not like bad, but he's just a guy. He can start. He can do okay. He's a guy. And he said, the Cardinals have a lot of guys, but they don't have dudes. They don't have enough dudes. So they got to get good dudes. And I said, well, how do you define dude? And Boog Sciambi said, superstar, but there are even dudes that are so good they may not be classic superstars, but they can absolutely elevate your team. The Cardinals don't have dudes. They got to get more dudes. And I look at this team, and they fit that very definition of what's a guy and what's a dude. And I like it because it's just another way to describe a situation that's actually more fun to describe it this way. Like who's the closest? Let me ask you, my friends, who is the closest Cardinal to being a guy? Like a guy? I mean a dude. I'm sorry, a dude. Like for example, I look at Kyle Schwarber, and I'm not just saying this because he hit 4 home runs last night. All right. Is he a great player? No. But he's got an element that makes him a dude, right? He's a big time dude because he can wreck scoreboards and rearrange games, and just 1 or 2 swings of the bat changes everything. All right. So who among the Cardinals right now, who do you think is the closest to being considered? I don't think any of them should be considered a dude, with all due respect.
I think Wynn would probably be the closest in my book.
With both the defense, but the offense has got to come on. I think it will.
Yep.
But then you have Burleson. He's improved defensively, but his offense is really, really fun to watch. But he's not a dude. I don't think they have a dude. They have guys. Yeah. And a lot of the guys are pretty good players.
Yeah, maybe Weatherholt winds up being a dude.
Weatherholt will absolutely be a dude. Book it.
Is what Gorman's doing the last month or so? I mean, he's seen the ball well. The approach to the plate is different. I guess the big question is, can he combine the approach to the plate with the slugging numbers that he's had in the past? Because he has had to pull back a little bit of his explosiveness to have more control.
First of all, I'm going to be a jerk. And even though I love you, Matt Rocchio, I'm going to have to just tell you, Gorman's been doing this since late May.
Yeah.
One of the things that drives me crazy, and that's because I'm weird and I let things like this bother me and I shouldn't, is that people talk about him as if this just started a couple weeks ago or something. I've been tracking him ever since I had that conversation with Marmol about how things would evolve with Gorman. I've been tracking him really closely. He's been an entirely different hitter since late May. And I'm teasing you, but I'm just saying that because there's like a common perception. I mean, our friends at FanDuel Sports Midwest, and they just like really within the last couple of weeks began talking about Nolan Gorman's improvement, and it's been going on for 3 months, right? So he's been really good. But to your point, and again, I'm sorry for being obnoxious. To get to your point. No, he's got to do it over a much longer period of time. It just can't be a 3 or 4 month stretch. It's got to be the 2026 season, and he does it pretty much all year. And listen, he's entitled to have slumps like everybody is. But I like what he's doing because all the things we look at has improved with him, include his plate discipline more than anything.
And Bernie, I think we have to look at the other part of this because we're talking about offense, and I don't know who the dude from the pitching standpoint is going to be. That dude pitcher is not around, and I'm not sure that maybe it'll be Liam Doyle. We have no idea. They certainly don't have multiple pitching dudes in their system.
I think Doyle can be a dude for sure. I mean, I think they have some potential dudes. I still think Quinn Matthews is a really good chance of him becoming a dude, but they don't. You can find listen, I think there are a lot of relievers who are dudes. They're and I'm not trying to diminish the importance of having a dude reliever. And the Cardinals through the years have had a lot of them. That's the one thing they kind of get right. But no, they need so much help in that area. And I did something and I talked about it as part of the video that I just recorded before I joined you. You know what I think symbolizes the Cardinals' downturn as a baseball entity in terms of modernization and adjusting to the industry, adjusting to the way the game's played, realizing you have to evolve, you have to change. You know what it is? And this sounds so simple, but that's what makes it such a good way to put it. All you got to do is look at four-seam fastballs.
Nope. They're terrible at it. Did you freeze up or?
Yeah.
Oh, you did freeze up. I was like,
and as I'd say to people, so like, listen, I'm not saying you have to like the way the game is played today.
Okay.
Yeah, Bernie, your internet's going a little bit in and out. We're having trouble hearing you. It's cutting in and out a little bit, unfortunately. And that's a bummer too, because I really wanted to get into it because his piece on STL Sports Central, he broke down all these numbers, and it was Patrick Tuohy who actually said Ivan Herrera is close to a dude. And I really hope we can get Bernie back on because he pointed out there that since June 30th, Ivan Herrera's weighted runs created plus puts him at a 15% below average in Major League Baseball. So, he's another guy like Gorman. We just haven't seen it long enough to give him that label.
Right. And the thing with Gorman, he didn't play. I think there were something like 7 instances in the first 2 months where they let him play 3 or more games in a row. And since then, he's been a regular. And he was a work in progress too. Remember, Brant Brown worked with him throughout the offseason. They got to spring training. One of the reasons they didn't play him is because they didn't think he was completely ready. Once he was ready and they thought he was ready and they started playing him right around the 1st of June, as Bernie said, late May, he's been really good. And he's a guy that with that element in your lineup, you can absolutely win with.
Somebody said Charter got Bernie. Spectrum. Tim Magano. I thought he was pausing for very dramatic effect.
Yeah,
I thought he was as well.
Me too.
Somebody says I saw that AOL is discontinuing dial-up internet. Didn't realize it even still existed.
Yeah. I saw online that AOL is discontinuing dial-up. That's amazing. Did you know that it still existed?
I had no idea. It still existed. But here's the thing. Here's something you got to realize. This is just a good thing to understand. There's infrastructure in this country that services parts of the country you don't even know exist. Mm-hmm. Like the people don't realize it's like right. there's parts of this country that you can live in where Amazon does not deliver to your doorstep.
No doubt.
And things like that. And so something tells me there was a very small part of America that was not very close to a very large city that was still using dial-up.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
And then some of the people out there in the hinterlands, they've got that Hughes satellite stuff.
Dude, hinterlands is such a good term. Yeah. I'm so happy you use the term hinterlands.
It's a great term.
Another, I know that Jordan Walker hit the home run last night, but we're talking about disappointing offenses. Bernie tries to reconnect here to close out this segment. Again, we keep having these up and down moments with Jordan Walker. Got another home run from him, but he's another one that unfortunately, the more we see from him, he appears to be just another guy.
Yeah, and that's his 5th home run. I mean, it's and it's great. And there's Bernie. He's back.
I don't know what happened. My wireless has been a little temperamental lately. But let me just finish what I was saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
to me, this symbolizes the state of the Cardinals more than anything. A very simple thing, which is fastballs. Like they have not adjusted to the modern game. And whether we like the modern game, the style, whether we like it or not, is frankly irrelevant. It's like, okay, this is how the game's played. This is how teams are exceeding. This is how teams that you're trying to catch this is what they're doing. And you're way behind in 2 very simple but very important things. This season, because Ali Marmol talked about the hitting, but I decided, well, it's more than just the hitting. This season, the St. Louis Cardinals as a staff, right? There's only one team in the majors that's thrown fewer pitches of 95 plus miles an hour. So they don't have the physical capacity to throw high velocity fastballs, right? And by the way, if you have high velocity fastballs, it doesn't mean that that's all you throw. You have to be a good pitcher. You have to have other good pitches. So it doesn't mean you're one dimensional. But my point is the Cardinals don't even have that capacity as a staff to pitch with power, get swings and misses and strikeouts. In other words, it's a team. It's a pitching staff, a rotation. I'm exaggerating, but it's a group of Andre Palantes, right? Balls always in play, always in play, always in play. So on that end of the fastball battle, the Cardinals are the second least capable team in the majors. Their hitters are in the bottom 3 in terms of their performance against fastballs 95 plus. So something as simple and basic and elementary as a fastball, the Cardinals are terrible at throwing them and they're terrible at hitting them. How the heck are you going to how the heck do you come ahead? How do you get ahead of other teams if that's your profile? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's pretty much impossible. And that's why everyone should be thankful that Chaim Bloom's on the way. Not only him, people forget this. It's the people that he's bringing with him. Because, if it's possible to scout hitters when you're looking to the draft. It's really possible to scout out hitters that okay, this guy can handle the modern game. He can hit fastballs. He really can hit fastballs. The Cardinals haven't been drafting enough of those guys. I think Chaim Bloom and his people will know exactly, well, we've got to change our philosophy in selecting hitters. Not every hitter should be like that, but we need more of them. Just like Chaim Bloom got together with Randy Flores, and Chaim Bloom's guys got together with Randy Flores and said, look, you've done a really good job, but we're way, way behind the time. We need more potential to strike out hitters and get swing and miss. We got to start drafting those guys. That's what they did in the recent draft. And so again, people are probably going to say, well, Bernie, I think you are crazy because now you're just like, you're babbling excitedly about fastballs. Yeah, I am. Because there's a team in this town that can't hit them and can't throw them. And I think that I would say that puts you at a disadvantage, right?
Yeah. And so they pick up a guy like Alcala, and that's why, right? Because he can throw more than 95. You say, who is this guy, Jorge Alcala? Well, the reason that he's here is because he does throw hard. That it's not because of the success he's had. It's because the Cardinals are hoping, and Chaim Bloom and that staff that you're talking about, that they can find a diamond in the rough and polish it up and make it better than it's been already.
And I got to give John Mozeliak some credit. I know that will get you arrested in St. Louis for saying that. So if there's a good attorney out there who represent me, because it's forbidden by law to praise John Mozeliak. John Mozeliak made a hell of a trade, Paul DeYoung getting Matt Swanson. And I talked to Mo at the time, and he said, well, we really think he can become something because he's a big, strong guy, and he throws really, really hard. And so Mo, and I'm not saying Mo did that enough, but Mo identified that guy. Mo also, and he might have gotten an assist from Chaim Bloom, but Mo also, wanted to, and he did sign Riley O'Brien, who's got the potential to be one of those guys. And they have started to collect some of these type of pitchers. They just need a lot more of them. And they really need it in the rotation. Sonny Gray can strike people out. He's got the swing and miss, but he'll also be 36 years old next year. His strikeout rate continues to decline. His swing and miss rate is good, but it continues to decline. But who else is there? I think Liberatore can be like a 23%, 24% strikeout guy. That's not bad. Other than that, though, they're just not there. And that's a real problem, the way the game is played today. Like if, and even when the Cardinals throw, let me one more thing to this. Even when Cardinals pitchers throw 95 plus miles an hour, just because you throw it, it doesn't mean it's a good pitch. Their fastballs are very hittable. And, I was looking at this earlier, and the numbers are unbelievable. Like, for example, when Cardinals pitchers this season have thrown a fastball 95 miles an hour or higher, but they throw a strike, the other side hits 324 against those pitches and slugs 472 because it doesn't move. It comes in straight.
That was happening with Ryan Helsley, right? That was his year, basically.
That's right. So, and I'm not claiming that I know how to solve all the Cardinals' problems, but it starts with something as simple as that. But the one thing, and I wrote about this yesterday, when you look at this offense, which has absolutely deteriorated since the end of June, after that Cleveland series, it's been downhill the rest of the way, falling apart. They are a terrible team in terms of hitting for power. So you say, okay, well, there's other ways to score runs. I agree. To compensate for that, it's hard to do it, but you can. And the one way you do it is you get on base a lot. You draw walks, you hit for average, you get on base. The Cardinals right now, since the end of June, they are in the bottom 3 in terms of power, and they're also in the bottom 3 in terms of getting on base. So if you have a 301 on base percentage, which is awful, and your slugging percentage since the end of June is 355, which is awful, how do you score runs? Like if you're getting guys on base all the time, at least you have more opportunities to get them home. But if you're not getting them on base and you can't hit for power, how do you generate consistent runs? You can't.
Bernie, it sounds like they have problems.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Maybe a little. Defense is good. Bullpen's been good. Bullpen's still pretty damn good even after trading those 3 guys. Go ahead.
Not having any power hitting or power pitching in 2025 in baseball kind of seems like a football team in 2015 wanting to be run heavy. I'm just saying it feels kind of like a decade ago in another situation. I don't like feeling that again.
The Cardinals need their version. I'm gonna vibe on what Rock just said. The Cardinals need their version of like Mike Martz.
Yes.
It's just so, well, no, you can, no. We're not playing leather helmet football here. No. We're going to open this thing up and we're going to put people in motion and we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to drive defensive coordinators crazy. These guys won't be able to sleep at night. We're going to, Rodney Harrison knocked out Trent Green, blew out his knee. Okay. Mike Martz told me one time before the Chargers were in town, he said, he called me up and said, hey, he says, I know you'll be at the game, but I'm just tipping you off about something. I said, what's that? He just watch what we're going to do to Rodney Harrison. I said, what? Don't fight fire with fire. Like, don't have guys like going after his knees. He says, oh no, it's much worse than that. He said, you just watched. You watched the start of the game. And Randy, I know you'll remember this game, and I forget the exact number. They came out 17. And what was it? 17 passes in a row?
Yeah, to start the game.
And Rodney Harrison's like chasing everybody, and he's out of breath. Like after every snap, you see him heaving, and bent over at the waist. I mean, the Cardinals kind of need something. I know it's not an exact match, but the Cardinals, if to use the analogy, they're like the baseball version of a leather helmet football team. They really got to modernize.
Yeah, they've. Who's June Henley? JT Thomas.
Wow. Well, I know. Remember that game, and I've used this story a lot. It's a quick one. Jim Thomas and I were the only two St. Louis sports media representatives, other than the play-by-play guys in Philadelphia for that Thursday night game when Dick Vermeil went back home.
Yeah.
And the Philadelphia media was like, this is crazy. Like, there's only two people from the whole market. I said, well, look, we're here. And I said to one of my Philly friends, I said, but listen, hold on now. You got Tony Banks at quarterback, handing off to June Henley and throwing to JT Thomas. That's their offense.
Oof. Oh, no.
They're a bad team. And they're a really dull team. It's like the double blow. You can be bad but entertaining. And so that's, to me, that's like the miracle of St. Louis sports. So they go in 1998, they got Banks at quarterback, June Henley as their top runner, and JT Thomas, because Isaac Bruce was hurt. JT Thomas as their top receiver. A year from that date, a year later in Philadelphia, from that date in Philadelphia, they got Kurt Warner throwing to Holt and Bruce and Falk, and they have Marshall Falk running the ball. And they also have Jeff Robinson catching passes and Ryan Tucker catching passes and good tight ends. I mean, the whole, that's how quickly things can change. That was the most dramatic transformation I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was unbelievable. Hey, are you going to be watching Ohio State, Texas tomorrow?
I will. I can't wait. I haven't looked at the game as far as who I think will win. I'm just curious, like most people, how Arch Manning will handle it. Because now there's been so much Arch Manning hype. Not that he creates it. He seems to be a really anchored in guy in terms of ego. But now, because especially at the worldwide leader, you just can't like offer a straight opinion. You have to say, well, what can I do to get attention?
Right.
So what we got 75,000 people screaming at the top of their lungs with hot takes. So what can I do? So you got Aaron Rodgers' little brother, so he's the guy talking about, well, I don't think he's that good. And people say, well, why isn't he that good? He says, well, we haven't seen him play that much. Well, how the hell do you know if he's not any good?
Right.
I mean, you got to process your simple-minded hot takes. You got to be a little more careful with that, So anyway, and by the way, I think Jordan Rodgers is good, but
yeah,
you got the hot take fever apparently.
Well, what's interesting because I was talking to both of our former co-hosts, Michelle Smallman, a couple of weeks ago, and I said, you're kind of like the voice of reason on the entire network. And she said, thanks, I get that a lot. And she said, that's because of Bernie and you, because she learned to build a foundation through knowledge to develop an opinion rather than just come up with an opinion with no knowledge or foundation for it whatsoever. So she's doing a fabulous job on ESPN Radio and now on ESPN TV. But she's
a star, and I mean that sincerely.
Yeah,
but no, that's nice. It was really nice of her to say. Yeah, I got to get in touch with her. I haven't talked to her for a long time because I'm bad at staying in touch with just about everybody.
Yeah, but it's a hot take world, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. I'm gonna go off the rails here.
Here we go.
No, this is just it drives me crazy because Bernie, you agree with this. I know it's the dumbing down of the American sports fan and specifically the football fan by pitting quarterback against quarterback. And somebody literally said a few years ago on ESPN Radio, "Oh, I don't think there's any way that Brock Purdy can go in and beat Jalen Hurts," like they were boxing or something. And the worst offender of this is Chris Canty, who played defensive tackle for a championship team. And he talks about, Aaron Rodgers has only won one Super Bowl. Well, how many Super Bowls did Drew Brees win? So you're telling me that Drew Brees isn't good? How many did Dan Marino win? You're telling me Dan Marino's not? It's like it's almost like it's Pete Sampras against Jim Courier rather than 53 against 53. And it drives me crazy that even people that played the game don't have an understanding of what it takes to win a football game.
Randy, you and I think so alike, because I always use the Wimbledon analogy, this very thing. I always say, because when you get to these dumb quarterback debates or whatever, this guy doesn't have enough rings, or this guy he only won one Super Bowl, or he didn't win a Super Bowl. And I've always said, I'm sorry, is this like Wimbledon's men's singles final or something? Or did they change the NFL? Is it still a team sport? I must have missed it when it turned into like a golf tournament, each golfer putting up a score, basically competing against each other, not the Ryder Cup where it's literally a team, but so no, when did this turn into like Wimbledon singles final?
It's literally like we were talking about right before you came on, like Skip Bayless and people are saying, well, it's a great trade because Micah Parsons is the reason they've been bad against. They're bad against the run because of Micah Parsons, or Micah Parsons disappears in big games. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there are 10 other guys on defense who also have to do their jobs.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised that Skip would say that. Hardly surprised. Yeah, I was listening to you guys when I first logged on before we started this segment, and Randy, you guys were talking about that, about that's what you pay defensive tackles for, to stop the run, and not just defensive tackles. You got to have a safety who's an enforcer, your linebackers, especially in the middle, but your linebackers have to be able to go, good lateral movement to get the runners and all that. But your point, and I heard you say it, it's like, well, was there one soul in the world who gave a damn about how Lawrence Taylor played the run?
Yeah, no.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not what we talk about him.
And the Greatest Show on Turf had, at their peak in 99, their defense was ranked 6th in the league, and I think it was even lower in terms of points allowed. And they were really good defense, and they got overshadowed for obvious reasons. You had Kevin Carter, who was an all-pro and a great pass rusher, and you had on the other side Leonard. Was it Leonard Little playing in '99 too? Grant Wistrom. Sorry. You had two defensive ends, and then there were other times in part of the Greatest Show years where Leonard Little was piling up stacks, and that was their job: go get the quarterback. Well, the Greatest Show on Turf also had guys inside who could stuff the run. Nobody could block DeMarco Farr because he was so quick. Ray Agnew was really, really good. Who am I missing here? Jeff Sanina, very underrated. Those guys, except for DeMarco the 1 year, they were never stars.
And Bernie, what was London Fletcher's job in that defense, right?
Right. Exactly. Just go like a missile into every run gap.
Yeah.
And blow it up. Right.
Yeah.
So, like some of the greatest Show on Turf defenses, they were good defensively in '99 and 2001. They had guys inside that could stuff the run.
Yeah.
But when you have you have an advanced weapon, it's like some new military, weapon. Bad analogy. I can't put it together. Sorry. But where you have guys who are in effect specialists, but they can do something that very few people on planet Earth can do. They can disrupt and change games entirely just for their ability to rush the passer. Nobody cares how many tackles they have on running plays. But if they're rolling up the quarterback pressures, the quarterback hits, the intimidation factors, the sacks, and the other team has to game plan for them specifically, and with some of the great ones, they have to game plan to great lengths to at least try to keep them under control. That's a very special player, and only a moron would suggest that somehow they're lacking because, I don't think he's great against the run. Yeah, I mean, all you got to do, if I hear anybody say that on ESPN or elsewhere, that tells me you are a complete and utter idiot. You know nothing. Except you're trying to run your mouth to get attention.
One of my favorite examples of this is it would have been like the 2009 or it was the year after they won the championship. I want to say the Colts. They're getting torn apart in the run game the entire season. And no one's blaming Robert Mathis or Dwight Freeney because they know that their job is to rush the passer. But they were missing Bob Sanders the entire season. Mm-hmm. He comes back for the playoff game against Larry Johnson and the Chiefs. And the Colts defense comes alive, and they absolutely completely shut down a running game that every single analyst was like, Larry Johnson and the Chiefs are going to absolutely steamroll this Colts team. They can't stop the run. But once they got a guy whose job it was to focus in on that part of the game, they absolutely locked it down. But no one was bitching about the Pro Bowl and borderline Hall of Fame pass rushers not getting the run stopping. They understood that's not these guys' jobs.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's go back to Jim Hart, the great Jim Hart. Mm-hmm. Okay, he didn't win a playoff game, right? And when I was trying to make a Hall of Fame case for him, I couldn't get much traction because everyone on that committee was, he never even won a playoff game. Well, he never did this. He never did that. He threw for a lot of yards. Oh, yeah, it was really impressive. I mean it, Bernie. He threw for a lot of yards. There's no question about it. He could throw it. And he was an excellent quarterback. But, I also judge quarterbacks on winning the big games and blah, blah, blah. And I would say, without trying to be as snarky as I wanted to be, but I'd basically say, well, you do realize that those teams didn't have a defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't stop anybody. You do know that, right? Was Jim Hart supposed to hold the other team to 18 points?
Yeah.
Was he supposed to go out there and play defense?
Dan Deerdorf would agree with me, although he wouldn't say it publicly. And you'll agree with this. But if Jim Hart is playing for the Steelers, he wins 4 Super Bowls. And if Terry Bradshaw is playing for the Cardinals, he probably doesn't win a playoff game.
100% in agreement. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's
in fact, simple. Jim Hart would have been in that setup. He would have been a much better version of Terry Bradshaw in that setup. I agree.
Yeah.
Because Jim Hart, I don't have to tell my friend Randy Karraker this. Jim Hart threw one of the great deep balls in the history of this league consistently.
Yeah.
Him throwing to Swan and Stallworth. And I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right?
It would have been outrageous.
I know.
Yeah. That would have been fun.
Sometimes it does come down to who drafts you, right?
Yeah. Right.
It really does.
Hey, look at Dan himself. Dan was a better player than Art Shell, arguably. They're both Hall of Famers, both great, but both great offensive tackles. But Art Shell has Super Bowl rings because he got drafted by the Raiders, and Dan doesn't because, again, if you flip those two, Art Shell might be in the Hall of Fame here, but Dan would have that glory of having the Super Bowl. It's just,
I mean, Dan would have been a perennial All-Pro, so to speak, no matter where he played in the NFL. And he was such a standout that he was like Joe Thomas before Joe Thomas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good comp.
Joe Thomas, one of the great offensive tackles I've ever seen, and was a slam dunk Hall of Famer. And he played for really, really bad teams in Cleveland all those years. Mm-hmm. But people were able to separate him from the mediocrity that he was part of through no fault of his own. And Dan was like that, although the offense was great. And that's why I was really, really shocked by how long it took him to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because he was part of one of the great offensive lines ever, the best lineman on one of the great offensive lines ever. And you just could not get to Jim Hart. And so this guy distinguished himself year after year after year. And he wasn't the only one, but he was the alpha dog of that group. I mean, but Jack Buck and he stayed at it. And there were some stats coming out at that time that could be dissimulated and added to making the case for Dan Dierdorf's inclusion, and they finally got him in, but it took way too long, and it was a shame, and it was really, really frustrating.
Yeah, no doubt. Bernie, great stuff as always. Have a great weekend, sir.
I enjoyed it as always. I look forward to this every week.
Yeah, me
too. Take care, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much, Bernie. Appreciate you, sir.
That is the great Bernie Miklasz. Yes. And of course, you can read his great work at stlsports.com. You can see his videos on YouTube here every day at STL Sports Central.
Absolutely. Bernie's the absolute best. I love talking football too. It's that time of the year I can't help myself. By the way, that was the year the Colts did win the Super Bowl 2007.
Yeah.
They
32 defense to end the season, right?
32 defense to end the season, and more than that, 2,700 rushing yards against them in the regular season. The 31st team against rushing that year, your 2006 St. Louis Rams, who allowed 2,300 rushing yards. So another additional 400 rushing yards by that Colts team. Bob Sanders comes back, and in the wild card game against the Chiefs, Larry Johnson goes for 13 carries and 32 yards in a season where he had 1,789 total yards on 416 carries. He was going for 4.3 a pop in that season, 32 yards against the Colts defense. Bob Sanders,
difference maker, no doubt about it.
No one talks about Bob Sanders nearly enough. He was
a stud.
Unbelievable.
Hey, don't forget, next weekend we've got the Stiefel Charity Classic here in town, presented by Compliance Solutions. It's September 4th through 7th at the historic Norwood Hills Country Club, and you can watch PGA Tour champions tee it up and compete. Some of the people that are going to be there: wayyyy Yang, Bernhard Langer, Stuart Sink, Justin Leonard, Chris DeMarco, Darren Clark, and more. Plus, on Friday night next week, 1 week from tonight, a live performance by music sensation OAR at Friday's community concert event presented by CarShield. Tickets start at $20. Kids and military veterans and the first responders get in free. As a matter of fact, we're going to have Folds Friday on Friday morning, honoring our military veterans, and we would love to have you out there. I'm going to MC in the early part of that program on Friday, and you can get your tickets at StiefelCharityClassic.com. That's StiefelCharityClassic.com, and we'll see you at Norwood Hills September 4th through 7th for the Stiefel Charity Classic.
We got a chat in here. I think Uncle Sam says they do an Indy all the time. Apparently, they are giving him his flowers. Bob Sanders, Indianapolis. I hope they're giving Tariq Glenn his flowers as well, because he retired very quietly, and it hurt them in a big way. But he was an absolute monster. One of those guys who, if he's playing left tackle now, you're hearing about him alongside Trent Williams, because he was in the era of Levi, Walter, Ogden, and Pace.
Yep. Well,
sorry, buddy,
but he was blocking in front of such a mobile quarterback too.
Very good point. Exactly.
Great job by Matthew Rocchio, as always. Thank you, brother.
Sir.
Have a good weekend. Wilson got us on the air, and we appreciate you being a part of the Randy Karraker Show here on STL Sports Central. We will see you on Tuesday. Have a great Labor Day weekend.